Well, hello class. We're going to wrap up chapter 1. So welcome to this video. We're going to be talking about section 1-10. This is the last lesson in the first chapter, and we're going to be talking about the coordinate plane. Now the coordinate plane, think back, you've seen this before. This is when we're graphing points on an XY plane. So that's what we're talking about with the coordinate plane. Alright, so let's continue on, and you're going to think I've kind of lost my marbles a little bit here, but back when I was about your age, I used to be in a bowling league, and my all-time favorite game ever when I was that age was a game called King and Balloon. And this is a screenshot I found on the internet, and this was a really, really simple game. The way it played is you had 3 little buttons that you controlled. You had 2 that were kind of right together. No, it's not perfect, but that's about right. Let's go ahead and see if we can't move this. See if it'll move. Alright, well anyway. So you had 2 little buttons, and one was for left and one was for right, and one was called fire. And the gameplay was really pretty simple. Essentially what happened, it was kind of like Space Invaders or any of those shoot-'em-up games. The balloons overhead were enemy balloons, and they would try to swoop down and land in your castle, and that really weird-looking frog guy was your king. And if the balloon landed and the king would walk back and forth, and if a balloon came down and landed, and the king moved and hit the balloon would take off, and the poor little king would go, "Help me! Help me! Help me!" And if you were successful in moving the archers underneath the balloon and shooting a bolt up and hitting the balloon, then a little umbrella would pop out, and the king would float down, and he'd say, "Thank you." But if you missed him, he'd go, "Help me! Help me! Help me! Bye-bye!" Okay, what can I say? It was a cheesy game, but it was an awful lot of fun to play. Now, you might be asking, well, what on earth is Mr. Gunn talking about? Well, I want you to think about the controls for this game. They were pretty simple, okay? Basically, you had 2 buttons left and right, and all they did was move these little archer guys left and right. And that was how you got underneath balloons, either the ones that were floating overhead, or maybe one that was swooping down, or maybe one that was running away and trying to steal your king. Okay? So what you had to do first is get underneath your target. Okay? So you had to go left or right first. Then you press the fire button, and you could only fire 1 arrow at a time. So if you missed everything, the arrow would go all the way off the screen, and you had to wait until it cleared the screen before you could shoot again. Okay? And so you didn't want to miss. You wanted to make sure you were right under the target that you wanted to hit. Well, this is how we're going to do coordinate graphing, believe it or not. What we do first is in an ordered pair, like 3, 5. What that means to do is to first move left or right. That's the x coordinate, the first number. Okay? And then the second coordinate, the y, tells us where we're going to go up and down. Kind of like the King and Balloon game. First you move left or right, then you press the fire button and you shoot up. Now the King and Balloon game couldn't shoot down, and you know, it's not the most perfect analogy, but it's a lot of fun. And I think if you remember this analogy, remember first you have to go left right, get under where you need to be, then you go north and south. Okay, so let's not belabor this point, but by the way, King and Balloon was the name of the game. That might be helpful, hint, 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 for your daily quiz on Monday. All right, let's continue on. So let's go ahead and expand this just a little bit, and let's make it a little bit more formal math. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw in a number line. We're going to draw a vertical one, we're going to draw a horizontal one, and I need to get better with using the tools on the dossier, but in the meantime, this is x, and this up here is going to be y. Okay, so let's take that point we were just talking about a second ago, 3, 5. Okay, this is the x coordinate, and this is the y coordinate. Alright, to graph this point, first we're going to do the x coordinate of 3. So we're going to count over from the center, which is called the origin. Okay, and the origin is pretty simple. It's where the x is 0 and the y is 0. We're not going to go left or right or at all. Okay, and I'm going to put some tick marks in here. Let's see. Let's just count over. That's 2, 4, 6, 8. So we won't label them all, but we will go ahead. We will go ahead and we'll label. Oops, sorry. We'll label this one right here 4, and we'll label this one here 8, and we'll do the same thing going up. There's 2, there's 4, there's 6. We'll go ahead and label 4. Okay. And we can also go down. We can do that to -2. This would be -4. This would be -6. And we can go left too. This would be, so we're really counting 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's much easier if we just do tick marks every couple. So that'd be -2. That would be -4. This would be -6. And we'll go one more. This will be -8. Okay, right away, before I go any further, you can see the negative numbers right here. And I guess if we go down, let's go one more tick mark right here would be -8. Okay, so as we go down on the y-axis and left on the x-axis, you can see the negative numbers, right? Okay, well think about it. That's what we've been talking about all chapter, right? Integers, positive and negative numbers. So that's why we've kind of gone ahead and we're doing graphing today. All right, let's get back to 3, 5. So 3 means to start here at the origin and count over 1, 2, 3 units right there. Okay, kind of like the king and balloon game. First we're going to move left. The second number, the y, 5, means to move up 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the point is going to be right there. Okay, I'll go ahead and put a circle around that point right there. And that is the point 3, 5. Okay, the x is 3 because we've gone to the right 3. And we've gone, I'll make that red actually. We've gone to the right 3 units, and we've gone up 5 units. Okay, that's how we graph a point. That's it. That's all there is to it. So let's try another one. Let's try the point -2, 4. Okay, so -2, 4. First, we're going to move 2 to the left. Let's pick a different color here. Let's go yellow. Let's move 2 to the left. That's -2. And we go up. My number line got a little messed up, so there's 1, 2, 3. It'll be right there at 4. And so let's go ahead and put a black dot right there. And that is the point -2, 4. All right? Okay. Well, let's go ahead. Let's continue on. When we graph, we also identify real quickly where a point is. We break. If you think about the x and the y-axis, okay, they kind of break the whole plane into these big corners like this. Okay, another name for corners is quadrants. Okay, and what we do is we start where everything is positive, and we're going to start with quadrant 1. We usually use Roman numerals, and then we continue around counterclockwise. So this is quadrant 2. Down here would be quadrant 3. And finally back around here is quadrant 4, so IV. And then we continue back to quadrant 1. Okay, quadrant 1, think about what's going to happen up here in quadrant 1. In quadrant 1, all of the points, the x's and the y's, all the coordinates are going to be positive. Okay? In quadrant 2, which is right here, the x's, think about where we've gone now. We've gone to the left of the y-axis, so the x's are negative. We do that first. That's the first number. And the y is positive. So they're going to be numbers where the x comma y, where the x part is going to be negative and the y is positive. Down in quadrant 3, both the x, you've gone to the left and you've gone down, so the x is negative and the y is negative. And in quadrant 4, the x has stayed positive because we've moved to the right, but we've gone down below the x-axis. So now we're looking at points x comma y where the x is positive and the y is negative. One more time. Let's go ahead. Let's go all the way around here. First quadrant, both the x and the y are positive. Second quadrant, we already said the x is negative and the y is positive. And in third quadrant, both the x and the y are both going to be negative. Okay, so that's a really quick way to say what point is it in. You can say quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, and if we want to actually specifically take a look at points, then we move over. The first number tells us how to move left and right. That's the x. The second number in the ordered pair tells us how to move up and down. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and we'll skip to the end. Let's go ahead and skip to the last slide. And you guys have been noticing some of the artwork in my classroom. So this girl right here is my daughter Nolan when she was much younger. She's the one that's drawn all the pictures on the board, and her twin sister Aiden. They're actually your guys' ages. They're actually 6th graders. They're both 11, and you'll probably see them around school. Anyway, thanks very much for watching the video. Hope you have a great weekend, and looking forward to seeing you on Monday. All right, bye, class.